Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Soo, your 2022 Oakland write-in mayoral candidate. Well, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I bring this up because of a couple of things. Number one, we just had a domestic violence scenario play out right here in our camp. And it's a couple, and they've been a couple for several years, and she is the violent person in this case, and the male is the victim typically, and she uses a car as her weapon of choice. And she ran over a lot of stuff here, damaged a lot of stuff. We're going to have a porta potty replaced, a hand washing station replaced, along with some other things that may need some attention. So, but she endangered everybody's lives here because she was doing a lot of spinning around with the vehicle. We have our shower truck Dignity on wheels here. So it endangered their equipment and their vehicle because of what she was doing and the way that she was going about. And those folks did videotape some of what she was doing, and she was very dangerous. And so anyway, that's the domestic violence scene that played out here for well over half an hour. I called Oakland Police Department. It took them nearly 15 minutes to respond, and they did respond with 3 vehicles, but then the moment that they turned the corner here from Hawley, she sped right past them with her car, and by the time that Oakland police vehicles got turned around, she's long gone, because she was speeding out of here, pedal to the metal. And so that's just one of the things that happens. Sometimes guns or knives or worse are employed in the commission of those crimes. And in this case, the female chooses to use vehicles, and she is very proficient at stealing vehicles. And so typically she steals trucks, but then in this case she stole a small car, we'll say. I won't say what kind of car, but that way the evidence remains solid, and the police are on the lookout for this vehicle and her. So anyway, I myself, years ago, it's been 10 years since I was a victim of domestic violence of myself. And a lot of you say, but mixed martial arts, you have guns, and how could you become a victim? Well, we were breaking up at the time, and I had all my stuff packed, and all my weapons were neatly stowed away inside of my belongings that were going to be moved out the next day. But then I was sleeping in a whole different area of the home at that time. This woman went through my stuff, found my weapons, and took one of my weapons. And so that's what caused the big issue, because number one, she stole my weapon, and she touched it without authorization. And number two, she did fire the weapon. She fired the weapon. One was in my direction, while not directly at me, it was in my direction. So that's domestic violence assault. And so she was arrested, and it was an ugly scene the whole way through, but it qualified me as a domestic violence victim. And that allowed me some help that got me temporarily into some housing through another private organization, which helped me attain funding for that housing because I was homeless. And so there was a lot of different things that went on. Plus, I was able to file a claim with the California Victims Fund. And so as a domestic violence victim, you have up to $2,000 that you can receive from the California Victims Fund, and that's to help you with legal matters, relocation, or any other things that you need to deal with at that time. I was paid $600 from that Victims Fund, just what they paid. I don't know why or what the reason was. That's what I got. And that did help me. I was already in the process of being homeless. And then I was in the shelter for a short while. Then from the shelter, I was in temporary housing for a short period before that slumlord made up a whole bunch of lies about me and got me evicted from the unit that I had, that I was rented. And so domestic violence works in many ways. And then also, as when I have been the safety security person here for the Rangers community, there have been many times that I've had to intervene on behalf of a domestic violence issue going on in the camp. And so I had to break it up, and sometimes things didn't go the way that it should have, and we had to have OPD step in, and things can get out of hand very quickly with domestic violence, especially if the perpetrator, the violent person, isn't able to calm down, or you're not able to communicate rationally with this person. So this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And in the past, I would just like to say, I know a lot about the subject. My mother was a domestic violence victim from her first marriage, and that's my half-brother came out of that first marriage, and then she divorced him. It took her father, my grandfather, to intervene because he was violent, and when he was served papers, it was served by not only my grandfather, who was a deputy sheriff, but also his brother, an uncle of mine, who was an Oakland police officer. And so that's how sometimes things get handled, and each DV situation is different and unique, and they're always difficult. And I realize that I've tried to intervene on many occasions, and then sometimes you can de-escalate the situation and have everybody kind of go to separate corners and have a quiet evening. And then sometimes it doesn't happen, and we have to have other folks come out to intervene, especially if the person, the perpetrator, is very violent and prone to violence. Thanks for joining me today. It's a difficult topic because it's impacted my life, as well as hundreds of millions of other lives out there. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be right back.